It's fair to say that the Mediterranean lifestyle is one of the most appreciated on Earth. It generally consists of being outdoor, focused around fresh healthy foods, slow pace and socialising in the warm evenings. Now combine that with the calm and nature focused alpine lifestyle and that's pretty much how the 2.1 million Slovenians live their lives. Slovenia is a country most people know very little about, and it's certainly not at the top of most people's bucket lists. But why exactly? When you dig deeper, it's actually a really nice place. In some quality of life rankings, it ranks up there with the very best in the world, yet it remains unknown to most people. So in this video, we're going to travel over to Central, South-ish Europe and investigate what might be the most underrated country on the planet. So first things first, where is Slovenia actually located and what region is it part of? So it's generally classed as Central Europe, with its southern parts being potentially classed as the most northern parts of Southern Europe. These southern parts of the country are also broadly included with the region known as the Balkans. The country borders Croatia to its south, Italy to its west, Hungary to its east, and Austria to its north. It's a pretty small country at just 20,200 kilometers squared. The country just narrowly escapes being landlocked as it has around 46 kilometers of coastline along the Adriatic Sea. Now, the Slovenians must find it slightly frustrating that this narrow strip of land here isn't owned by them but by the Italians. But why exactly does Italy own this bit of land here? Wouldn't it make more sense for it to be Slovenian? Well, before World War I, this region was controlled by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. After the empire collapsed, new borders were drawn, and Italy claimed this region here, including the port city of Trieste. So, speaking of underrated places, the port town of Trieste deserves a mention. It's an Italian city many people probably haven't heard of, but architecturally it is stunning. It's located within Central Europe with access to the Adriatic and Mediterranean, making its position strategically very important. So speaking of important cities, let's take a look at Slovenia's. So its capital, Ljubljana, sits pretty much slap bang in the middle. Its population is around 280,000, accounting for around 13% of the country's 2.1 million population. Now, this is generally quite a low population in terms of percentage of the entire country, showing just how spread out the population is. The capital is described as more of a modest-sized city as opposed to a huge metropolitan hub. The next largest city is Maribor, a quiet city in the northeast with a population of around 100,000. And then just east of the capital is Celje, the third largest city, with roughly 40,000 residents. It's really crazy how small this country actually is. Even though the country is pretty small, even for Europe's standards, it offers a lot, especially in terms of geographical variation. In the north you have the Alps, which create a mountain climate with cold, snowy winters and cool summers, making it perfect for winter sports like skiing. And then moving to the central and eastern regions, the climate shifts to a more continental one. Here you'll find warm summers and generally quite cold winters with a fair bit of rain throughout the year. And then down in the southwest along Slovenia's short Adriatic coastline, the climate becomes more Mediterranean. Winters are relatively mild and wet, while summers are hot and dry, perfect for enjoying the sea and beaches. This variety means you can go from snowy peaks to warm beaches within just a few hours' drive. So speaking of climate, the highest temperature ever recorded in Slovenia was around 40.8 degrees Celsius. Surprisingly, that is quite close to the UK's highest record temperature. On the other hand, the coldest temperature ever recorded was minus 34.5 degrees Celsius, within its alpine mountains during a harsh winter. So let's now take a look at more of the statistics surrounding life quality within the country. It generally scores pretty well in most indexes, kind of slipping under the radar. For example, if we were to go by UN countries, Slovenia ranks as having the 28th highest life expectancy in the world at just under 82 years. That's actually higher than what you'll find in Germany, the UK, or Costa Rica. In the Global Peace Index, Slovenia ranks a very impressive 9th place, higher than the likes of Finland, Japan, or even Bhutan. In the Human Development Index ranking, Slovenia sits in a very respectable 21st place. That's higher than France, Japan, or Italy. It's also one of the safest countries not only in Europe, but the entire world. For example, it has the 18th lowest murder rate on Earth, and that includes absolutely tiny microstates too. So if we only include countries with over 1 million people, it's more like the 12th safest in terms of murders. And then in the Gini coefficient ranking, which ranks countries on wealth inequality, Slovenia actually ranks second in the world, ever so slightly lower than its not so distant European friend Slovakia. Now, a lower score in this doesn't necessarily make it a better place to live, but it does show that most people have similar incomes, which usually translates to less inequality. So if your geography is pretty decent, you might be able to name the country's most well-known and most visited attraction, Lake Bled. It's a very picturesque lake found in the northwest of the country. There's a pretty famous church that sits in the middle amongst the background of forest and mountains. Found just west of Lake Bled is Triglav National Park, Slovenia's only national park. It is home to the Julian Alps, pristine lakes, forests and waterfalls. It's definitely one of the most raw and undervisited natural places in the region. Now, although Slovenia is relatively small in both size and population, its economy is pretty big, around $75 billion US, surpassing that of much bigger countries like Belarus, Myanmar or Bolivia. This actually gives a GDP per capita of around $35,000 US, the 30th highest in the world. That's higher than South Korea, Japan, or even its European neighbour Croatia. In fact, much higher than Croatia, some $10,000 US higher. But how is their GDP per capita so relatively high? Well, one major advantage Slovenia has is its physical location. It sits in a pretty nice spot within Europe, making trade with lots of countries relatively easy. To the northwest lies Central Europe, arguably the most developed and wealthiest region on the continent. Combine this with its easy access to around 7 or so countries within a day's travel. Although pretty small, the country still benefits from its coastline. It provides direct access to the sea and opens up opportunities for marine trade. Slovenia also has one of the world's best education systems, alongside its people being able to speak multiple languages, so businesses like to invest there. Being part of the EU helps a lot too, because it gives Slovenia access to a huge market and extra support. On top of that, the country has pretty good roads, technology and a stable government, which all make it easier for businesses to grow and for people to earn good money. Although Slovenia isn't the cheapest place in Europe to live, it's certainly more affordable than most countries, especially those that surround it. In the cost of living index, it scored 50, with the lower the number the better. In Germany, this score was 64, 67 in Austria, and 106 in Switzerland. So there we have it, Slovenia in a nutshell. I'm not gonna lie, whilst making this video, I'm now really tempted to visit there myself. Maybe I'll add it to next year's bucket list. Like and subscribe for more interesting geography content, and as always, thank you very much for watching.